Hi everyone, my name is Liz, and today we're going to go over how to hold chapter elections and transitions online. Thanks to today's technology, that's not as daunting as a task as it used to be. However, for chapters used to in-person elections and transitions, it will be important to establish a simple, clear system that can easily be communicated to your members. There's two main parts of the PAD election process: the voting itself and the transition between the outgoing and incoming officers. The transition process is very important because it sets up the new board to plan for the upcoming year and ensures nothing gets lost during the change between boards. We'll talk about transitions later, but first, let's talk about setting up the elections themselves. There are a few key things that need to be done before the voting itself takes place. Scheduling. One of the most important tasks is confirming your schedule for elections. As a reminder, it's expected that chapters should hold elections by April 2nd and fully transition to the new board by the 15th. Ideally, your election dates should have been done when you created your semester calendar, but situations do come up where you have to schedule online elections unexpectedly. In these situations, it's especially important to have your schedule locked down. There are three main dates you should choose in setting up elections. First, your date to declare candidacy and submit candidacy statements. That's as in when members need to announce their intent to run. Second, the date and time the online voting poll opens. Third, date and time the poll closes. A good rule of thumb with online elections is to give a week or a few days between each deadline to allow for members to think about their options and properly vote. And be sure not to schedule the elections during an exam period or school break. You won't get the kind of response you want during these times. Once you've decided on your schedule, send it out to chapter members so they know elections will be taking place online and when they need to be ready to vote. To ensure all members know about elections, we suggest an email, posting on any social media, and if possible, posting through a school organization portal. Let us know if you need a copy of your chapter's roster so you have everyone's email addresses and a verified list of members in good standing. Your election message should also include the list of available officer positions and what their duties are. We'll talk more about this later. On to the next task. You'll need to pick a platform to host your elections. Honestly, any platform with an online poll option will work. SurveyMonkey, Zoom, and Google Surveys all work very well, though there are many options out there. And if you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to the executive office. Your school's online platform, like Blackboard, for example, may have this as an option as well. If all else fails, an email ballot is a doable option if you have a small chapter. I don't recommend this for chapters with more than 30 members, however. Once you've picked your platform, I recommend setting up a test survey for you and your officers to play around with the system. This can be an easy 1 or 2 question survey. During your test survey, you should look for: how easy is it to create and edit your poll? Will it be difficult for you or another officer to enter all the information about the candidates? Next, what type of questions does your poll offer? Are you able to add a write-in option? Can the system limit the amount of candidates a voter can choose for a particular office? Can you set automatic time limits on your poll? Will the poll open and close automatically, or will you need to manually do that? Next, how do you share the poll with members? Will the site or the platform let you send a link, or is there another way to do it as well? And last, how do you collect responses? Testing the system will allow you to address any issues or potential questions that come up before you actually start voting. So definitely make sure that you test as much as possible before you send out the surveys so that your membership can do elections. Next, compiling candidate information. Let's move on to the next topic, candidate submissions. Candidate submissions are simply a member's statement that they are running for office. As I mentioned when we talked about scheduling, you should give members at least a few days, but preferably a week, to declare their candidacy after sending your initial message about elections. We also talked about sending out the list of available positions and their duties. It's important members have this so they know what to expect if they are elected and what they are voting for. When collecting candidacy submissions, we suggest you give your members running for office an option to write or record a candidacy statement. This statement will say a little bit about them, why they're running, and what they hope to accomplish as an officer. These statements can be sent out to your members with your online poll or as you get them. It's up to you. Once you have a list of members running for office, send the full list of candidates to your members so they have time to review their options. Like I mentioned before, this is also a good time to send out those candidacy statements if you haven't already. While your members are reviewing the candidates, compile your online poll. Like you did before, make sure to have your fellow officers review your poll for errors when you have it ready. You don't want anyone to be left out accidentally. Now it's time to vote. Now that you have everything set up, today's the big day. On the scheduled day, send out the online poll to your membership in good standing. Include clear instructions on how to submit votes when the poll closes. We suggest that you send a reminder email a day or two before the poll closes to ensure all members vote. You should be monitoring the results closely as they come in to make sure there are no issues and that any technical problems are addressed immediately. Once you've reached your schedule end date and voting is complete, announce the results to your chapter membership. You should also officially report the results to the executive office. PAD.org offers easy reporting links on the PreLaw Officer Resources page, but you're also welcome to simply email the results to the appropriate staff member. When reporting election results, make sure you submit the new officers' full names, email addresses, and phone numbers. And definitely make sure to double check that spelling on officers' last names are correct. If needed, you should also report these results to your school or chapter advisors. Pre-law chapters should report the results to their faculty advisors. Once the elections themselves are completed, it's time to set up your officer transition meeting. This is a meeting between the outgoing and incoming officers to transition duties, turn over chapter property, and brainstorm for the upcoming year. Besides the transfer of physical chapter property, like chapter banners, keys, or papers, much of the transition meeting can be easily done virtually as a conference call or video chat meeting, which is also great. Even being held remotely, the officer transition meeting is still the best way to pass on the duties of each office. You'll want to work through the following checklists during this meeting. You can pass on lists of official accounts and passwords. This includes Blackboard pages, chapter emails, any financial accounts, really anything with a password at all. Next, transfer chapter files and manuals, if you have anything saved. You'll also want to change signatories on accounts where possible. For the accounts where you need to be in person to change over the signatories, outgoing and incoming officers should exchange contact information to ensure they are able to get in touch when the in-person meeting can occur. You'll also want to discuss duties of each officer position, as well as the fall calendar. The outgoing officers should be able to explain to you how to set that up, but if you have other questions more in depth about setting up your fall calendar, You can always consult the PreLaw Operations Guide. In Chapter 5, you'll find a template as well as more information about your programming calendars, and you can also reach out to me at prelaw@pad.org. Make sure that you also review chapter activities and challenges of the past year and how you can go forward. Discuss chapter successes and goals for the future, and electronically report the new officers to the executive office and your faculty advisor. For the parts of the transition that must be done in person, set a date for over the summer or early in the fall semester when these can be completed. This includes transferring all chapter materials, banner, gavel, keys, etc., and again, updating the signatories on bank accounts and other non-online accounts. If you cannot do this in person, then make sure you get the home address, phone, and email of the outgoing officers in case you need to contact them. I cannot reiterate that enough. Last, let's talk about a few frequently asked questions when it comes time to holding your elections and transitions. First, one of the biggest questions we get is, who gets to vote? Members in good standing are defined as paid and initiated members and should be voting in your chapter elections. If members have not yet paid the international initiation fee, then they should pay that before being permitted to vote. Please be flexible for some to join right before elections, and you want to make sure that they are still able to do that. Another great question is, what if someone runs unopposed? Election best practices say that you should still offer a write-in option for that particular position. What if there's a tie? Well, there's a few options here. You could consider having the two winners consider holding co-positions. Just make sure that in the event one of them has to step down, there is a contingency plan in place. The other options are to set up a runoff election, or you can discuss with the candidates if one would like to concede. It is up to you on how best to handle these options, but please remember, first and foremost, always be professional and fraternal. Finally, can the executive office help administer our elections? Of course. Please contact our office if you would like any assistance. We encourage chapters to handle their own elections since, after all, you know your specific chapter best. But if there's something that we can do to help, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And there we have it. If you need any additional assistance with completing your elections and transitions, always feel free to consult guides such as the PreLaw Operations Guide or New Officer Resource Guide. And don't forget to consult your faculty advisor or the executive office for assistance as well. Thank you for joining us, and good luck with your elections.